Hello, 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 and welcome to today's video. We are going to be looking at my process for planning your week. If this is your first time watching my videos, welcome. My name is Niamh, and I'm here to help you create a better workday. And I try to teach things like how to plan, organize, and complete your work so that you can be less stressed and feel more in control. I also talk about things like managing relationships at work and all the stuff in between to help you feel more calm, confident, and in control of your workday. And one of those things is making sure you have enough time to complete your work. So, the process we're going to go through today is not how to schedule things onto your calendar. In fact, I don't want you to touch your calendar until you've done this first. And let me explain why. One of the reasons that we struggle to get everything done is because we're not really good at managing our own expectations. I don't know about you, but I always underestimate how long it's going to take to complete certain work and then completely overestimate how long it's going to take to do other things. And even if I got that quite right, there's always going to be a day where I'm not feeling as motivated as I thought I would, or somebody will need me for something and I have to push things out, and it all goes a little bit pear-shaped. And what I find is if we try to cram too much work in before the week even begins, you're almost setting yourself up on the back foot because week after week, month after month will tell you that these things do happen. You're going to have some days which aren't so great. And so, what we want to do instead is allow for them, to plan for them, and to make sure you're focusing on the most important work. And the reason I say don't put this straight into your digital calendar or your scheduler is that from my experience, I have found that if you put it onto your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar or whatever you use, it's almost like then you try to play Jenga or like do a jigsaw puzzle that you try to make all the pieces fit in. So even if it gets busier and busier, instead of deleting things or moving things well out, you're going to try and see how you can make things fit. So it's almost like a game. You've got all the blocks of time and you're trying to put all the blocks together. And that's just not good for your head and it's not good for expectation management. So if you map it out somewhere else instead, like on a piece of paper or on a spreadsheet, like the template I'm going to share with you, then you can look at it, you can play around with it, and then you can transfer your plan onto the calendar, the digital calendar, I mean. And by the way, this isn't going to take you all day, like it will take you about 10-15 minutes max, but it's well worth it because what you do when you capacity plan better, or when you plan your capacity better, when you plan your time better, basically, is you set more realistic expectations with yourself and with other people. So you might say, I can't do 6 things, I can only do 5. But then you're more likely to actually do the 5 and deliver on it, which builds your confidence and other people's confidence in your ability to do your work on time and deliver. So it's good. It's good. Now, the template I'm going to share is so simple. And if you never click on the link to download it, it'll be in the description and in the comments. But if you never click on it, this is basically what it is. It's the days of the week across the top, and it's the hours of the day down the side. That's it. And what we're going to do is we're going to start plugging in things. But I want you to do it in a specific order in order to focus on your most valuable work and yourself. And that's the order that we're going to go through now. So let's get into it. The first thing that I want you to do is define your working day. If you work a non-linear work day, which basically means that you do a little bit of work in the morning, in the afternoon, maybe in the evening, I'm okay with that. I still want you to define your working day, and that means to put in your start and end times. Even if you have a start and an end and a start and an end, I need you to put them in anyway. So that allows us to now have a bucket, even if it's an oddly shaped bucket. You now have a bucket in which you're going to put your work. If you don't do this first, it's like it's never ending. And I don't know about you, but on things like Outlook and Google Calendar and all the other types of calendars, it can go on forever, like it's 24/7, 365 until the end of time. So there's no end in sight, and then it feels to me that I should always be putting more in. Whereas defining this week at least gives me a bit of structure, and I find that's really helpful. So we put in your start and end times. The next thing that you're going to put in are your breaks. And I want you to put in at least 2 breaks, if not 3. So the first break is your main break, usually around lunchtime for most people. So that's a half an hour to an hour, depending on how long you're working for. And then I also want you to put in either a morning coffee break or an afternoon break of about 15 minutes, or allow a half an hour, because by the time you leave your desk and come back to your desk and have the coffee, it's going to be a half an hour. Coffee is good. Also, I don't drink coffee, so I have tea, hot chocolate, water, whatever it is you're doing. But you're definitely going to need more than one break during the day. So let's all agree on that, because we know that's the case anyway. You do it anyway, even if you don't plan for it. So why not plan for it? Once you have that in, now we're thinking, let's put in our work. And before you do that, there's one more thing I want you to do. I want you to block out an hour every day, anywhere on the calendar, for I don't know what yet. And the reason I say anywhere is because, remember, what we're doing is we're capacity planning in this exercise. So when it goes to scheduling it on whatever scheduling tool you use, you can obviously change the times and stuff. This is really just to see, will everything fit in the bucket, you know? So don't worry too much if the time isn't exactly right, or if you're not sure about the time. This isn't about that. This is about checking your capacity and what you're going to commit to doing for the week. So put it in, or put it in any time, put it in for an hour before lunch, an hour after lunch, an hour at the end of the day, for example. And this is an hour for I don't know what yet, or it's called buffer time, or if you're a manager, I call it team time, because it's when your team will need you. And the reason this goes in before any other work is because years and years and years of experience. Now, I'm working since the age of 11, so I'm coming up to, what's my maths, like 29 years of working. So in 29 years of working, I have never had a week where something didn't come up. Like, I don't know what it is. It could be a big thing, a small thing, but there's always something. And instead of that catching us unawares, the least we can do is allow time for it. And the nice thing about this is that if nothing comes up in a particular day, you now have additional time to get ahead for the next day or the next week. So it's lovely. So put in your time for I don't know what yet. Now, once you've that done, what I want you to put in are two things next, and that are your must-have meetings. And because I do realize that there are some meetings that you're going to have that are critical, that are important, and that they can't be moved. So in this bucket, we think of like client meetings at a particular stage. Your team meeting would be a must-have, because it's important for you to show up to that. Your one-to-one with your manager. Everything else then, I mean, it really depends on your job and what's happening in those meetings, but put them in your must-have meetings. And then I want you to put in time for your most important activities. Now, to do this, you have to know what your most important activities are. I will do another video on that. And if I have any old videos, I'll check after doing this, and I'll put a link down in the description to them. But basically, what we want to do is allow time for your most important work. And so give it an hour every day, just to kind of have a starting point. Call it your hour of power if you're not sure what the tasks are at this point in time. And now what we have is your day defined with your breaks baked into it. You have your buffer time for the unexpected, and you have your key meetings and your key activities. Now, I'd be curious to know, and please let me know in the comments if you are following along with me, how much time you've left at this stage, because it's probably not as much as you expected, because between those important meetings, those important tasks or breaks, there's not loads of time left, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So what you do then is, depending on the nature of your work, you would chunk the rest of it for the purpose of this planning into 30 minutes or 60-minute blocks. You would want to be putting in definitely a block for checking your email and admin. So one or two blocks of those, pop them into the calendar for every day. You're going to want to be putting an hour in maybe for recurring tasks, things that you have to do all the time that aren't already part of your big key activities. And then take a look and see how much is remaining. And resist filling in every hour. So at this stage, you have allowed for some admin, you've allowed for some small tasks. So you don't have to fill in the rest of it, because that's where the daily planning comes in. If you try to schedule down to the minute, 15-minute increments for a whole week in advance, you're setting yourself up for failure, because you don't know what's going to happen in terms of how long it's really going to complete stuff, how you're feeling day to day. We're much better off weekly planning to 60-70% and then filling in the rest on a daily basis. And that allows us to respond to shifting priorities and all those kind of things. So take a look back, take a look at it, take a step back and look at it and see, is it realistic for you? So, is there everything that you want on that week? If that's great, brilliant. If you have filled it to 70-ish% and there's still loads you want to do, well, that's something that now you can talk about with your manager or with a colleague, or just even map it out yourself in terms of managing your expectations. Maybe some meetings aren't really needed. Um, you know, maybe the work that you do think is important, now that you stack it up, isn't as important. And you can make the decisions about whether or not to defer or delete your work now. Before, as I said, you put it into your scheduler and you feel like you have to play Jenga to make it all fit. And once you've decided on what that looks like, put it in to your schedule, of course. That's the next thing that you can do, so that if other people are working with you, that they know what's going on and that they don't try to book you in when you have time set aside for especially the most important work. And if you're really interested or curious about how you can improve your expectation management and your time management, what it's great to do is, take a screenshot of your capacity planner, your weekly planner at the start of the week, and either take a screenshot or take a photograph of it if you've done it on paper. And then at the end of the week, take a screenshot of your calendar, like your digital live calendar that everything's in, and see how they line up, right? So like, did loads of meetings come in the places where you plan to do certain work, for example? If you want to go really next level, you could track your time during the week and see 100% how it compares. But I think even comparing planned meetings versus actual meetings is very, very helpful. So what are you going to do? So what I'd like you to do, if you're interested in trying this, is to, as I said, download the template, or create your own version on a piece of paper. It's totally up to yourself, and then go back and follow the steps through. Make sure you follow the process. If you found this helpful, let me know by liking the video, and that helps me, of course, understand what content is useful. It also helps you because you'll see more of these videos from me. And if you have a teammate, a colleague, or a friend who's struggling to manage their expectations and never has enough time to do everything that they want to do in a week, maybe you want to share the video with them as well. That's it from me for today. Until next time, stay well and have a better workday.